So just to get an idea, has anyone read the book The 1 Minute Millionaire? Yeah, well, I was reading that same book as well, and I was 21 at the time, and I came across this idea about Paul Hartunian, who was selling the Brooklyn Bridge, and I thought, how can I replicate that here in Australia? So I was driving past the MCG, and at the time they were doing the redevelopment of the Ponsford stand, and I thought, this is a really good idea. I can't believe no one else has had this idea. So I contacted the wrecking company, and firstly, my idea was I thought I'd get pieces of the bricks from the actual thing and mail out bricks to people. Probably not the smartest tack in the box. And then ended up contacting the wrecking company, and then they said, look, we have pieces of the carpet, we have pieces of the wood, maybe you should come down and get that. So I went down there and loaded up Mum's car with all this stuff, took it home, and then I actually had a workshop that was up in Brisbane. It was Brad Sugar's Billionaire Boot Camp. So I flew up for that, had everything all set up and ready. You know, I'd written my press release. Melbourne man, or 21-year-old Melbourne man sells MCG for under $24.95. Because I was going to sell my little pieces of the wood. And I was up on the Gold Coast, and I had a few people call me up and say, hey, Dave, have you given this wood to anybody else? And I'm like, no. And they said, someone is doing the exact same thing down in Melbourne at the moment, while I was planning to launch everything when I got back. So as you can imagine, at the time I was pretty gutted, and Pete was my arch nemesis and rival. But then we sort of found our circles sort of collided a few times at some different conferences and that type of thing, and we built up a little bit of a relationship. We started rock climbing together, and yeah, not physical. Built up, you know, like we've got similar interests in the business and all that type of stuff as well. So formed a really good relationship, kept in contact now, and I suppose that brings us up to speed with how we met and trying to make the lemons into lemonade and taking a bad situation. I ended up still getting a lot of media coverage. When I got back, I did the same thing. I think the media got a little bit confused because it was both a 21-year-old launching and selling bits of the MCG. They probably thought I was Pete as well. So that was one of my springboards to, again, get into the entrepreneurial game. Always been a little bit entrepreneurial. When I was back at my school, Melbourne High, there was a guy there who used to trade the stock market, and he used to come into class and he'd tell me how much money he'd made during science. You know, made $500 here, $300 there, and just like a problem gambler, I suppose he was just telling me about his winning trades, not necessarily his losing trades. And I thought, okay, maybe this stock market thing is what I need to get into. I left school against the better advice of all my friends and family. I took out a $5,000 loan and did one of those weekend, you know, become a super trader courses where you go and learn the secrets of the stock market, and then you start trading Monday morning. Quickly found out that it probably wasn't as easy as that, and realised that you needed to develop a trading float, so you had a little bit of cash to trade. So then I went on, and I suppose to cut a long story short, ended up creating an info product in the stock market niche, and then got interested in marketing and internet marketing of how to market that product online. Because what you're going to learn about today, you can have the best product in the world, but unless anybody knows about it, it's not worth anything. So that's where I got interested in, you know, Jay Abraham, Dan Kennedy, all of the classic greats from direct mail, and then shifted into the internet space. Running alongside of that, friend and I, we set up a rock and roll clothing music store, selling everything from AC/DC t-shirts through to Metallica t-shirts. We built it up to 3 stores, about to franchise, got all the franchise docs done, dominate the website online. You can search just about any band name and add the word merch after it, and we come up number 1. And then from there, we started getting a lot of people saying, how is it that you're doing what you're doing online? And we kind of, as a team, we sat down and said, you know, there's such a demand here. There's a lot of people who want to know how it is that we do what we do. So we brought everything that we were doing in the stock market niche to local business. And as you'd imagine, stock market niche, anything make money is a hyper-competitive niche. So when we were bringing the strategies that we're applying over there, we brought it to local business, you know, working with dentists and working with audit consulting and things like that. There's a few clients here today. We just absolutely dominated with them. So that was when Melbourne SEO Services was formed at the start of this year, and haven't looked back since.